you guys? It's Nasim here. Now, after using the iPhone 13 Pro Max for about 6 months now, the one thing that kept coming to my mind whenever I was using it on a day-to-day basis was this one simple statement that I think explains the 13 Pro Max pretty perfectly. And that statement is, I think that the iPhone 13 Pro Max is the best iPhone that you can get in 2022. And I say this because the iPhone 13 Pro Max is the best in every category that iPhones in the past have been known for. The iPhone 13 Pro Max has the best camera. The iPhone 13 Pro Max has the best power. The iPhone 13 Pro Max has the smoothest software. The iPhone 13 Pro Max has the best display. And last but not least, the iPhone 13 Pro Max has the best battery by far. And when we look at the average person who buys an iPhone, the iPhone 13 Pro Max will fulfill every single need that anyone wants within that phone. And this is why I say that this is the best iPhone that you can get. But besides that, I wanted to give you guys some of the reasons as to why I think that the iPhone 13 Pro Max is the best iPhone that you can get in 2022. Now, the first thing that I loved about the iPhone 13 Pro Max after using it for 6 months was the amazing display. Now, the iPhone 13 Pro Max has a 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR display that supports ProMotion and also goes from 10 to 120 Hz refresh rate. And based on my experience, I think that this is definitely one of the best displays in the smartphone market. The size was really great, and the only downside that I didn't like about the 13 Pro Max's display was that it was slightly hindered due to it having a very outdated notch. But besides that, the viewing experience was great, and the 120 Hz refresh rate made the phone feel as smooth as ever. Like right here, you can see me scrolling through the OS and it feels buttery smooth. The scrolling was effortless and it made me want to use it more. I also really loved how responsive the haptics were. Like right here, you can see just how fast it is when I move or press on something, and there were never any times where I got any lagging animations. Also, one of my favorite parts about the screen was that it didn't have a curved display like on the S22 Ultra, so there were never any times where I would get accidental touches. Now, the 13 Pro Max's screen peaked at 1200 nits brightness, which is insanely high, so whenever I was outside during a really sunny day and was on my phone, I was able to see everything without having to squint my eyes. Now, the last thing that I loved about the display on the 13 Pro Max is that it had one of the best visual experiences that was very comparable to most top tier flagships. The colors were nice, the sharpness was nice, and the size gave me a great viewing. And to show you guys what I mean, here are some examples of me watching videos and playing video games.
No matter how much I was enjoying the sound, no matter how much I was enjoying the connectivity, no matter how much I was enjoying the attention, once I thought about how much I paid for them, I constantly kept doubting my AirPods Max, which made me ultimately question whether or not they were a great purchase.
Now, the next thing that I loved about the iPhone 13 Pro Max after 6 months of use was the amazing software. Like right here, you can see me scrolling through the OS and there are no hiccups whatsoever. The phone isn't laggy, I don't get any crashes, and the phone overall ran really smooth without me having to restart it. And even when I'm playing heavy games like Call of Duty, you can see that there are no lags and I'm able to play the game as smooth as possible. It also helped that my phone didn't really get hot, which was a huge problem on many other phones. I also really like the fact that whenever I could use my phone, none of the apps that I used were crashing. Whenever I would click on a new app, it had no problem switching. And whenever I wanted to do something on my phone, it would do it exactly how I wanted it. And simple things like this is the reason why I think that the 13 Pro Max is the best, because its usability is out of this world and it can compete with any other top tier flagship phone. Now, the next thing that I loved about the iPhone 13 Pro Max after 6 months of use was the insanely amazing battery. Now, the 13 Pro Max has a 4352 milliamp hour battery that supports 25 watt fast charging, and if I'm being honest, as much as I was using this phone, it was still able to last me all day. I will be doing things like scripting videos, checking my emails, talking on the phone, watching YouTube videos, and even occasionally playing games, which was pretty heavy use for me. And after all that, I will usually get around 6 to 8 hours of on-screen time, and I will usually end my day with about 30% battery left, which was pretty good for me. I also love the fact that even if my phone was dying on me, all I had to do was plug my 25 watt fast charger into it, and it would go from 20% to 10% in a little over an hour. And to be honest, I think that the charging was okay at best, but the battery is what really made it stand out, because with that capacity, you'll be able to get juice in your phone all day. Now, the next thing that I loved about the iPhone 13 Pro Max after 6 months of use was the surprisingly great speakers. Now, the dual speakers on the 13 Pro Max were some of the best that I had used in a long time. There were a lot of times where I would play my music out loud while I was getting ready for work, and it became a habit just because of how good they were. The bass was powerful, the sound was crystal clear, and the loudness was really high. I also really like that whenever I turned up the volume, the quality didn't deteriorate like on a lot of other phones. And to show you guys what I mean, here's an example of me playing a video with the volume all the way up.
Alright you guys, so we finally got here, but the only problem is there's a lot of like private property here, so it's kind of impossible to get to, or it will just take so many hours to, find a way to get to it. So we're gonna find a new trail.
Now the final thing that I loved about the iPhone 13 Pro Max after 6 months of use was the amazing camera. And to be honest, the 13 Pro Max's camera had great quality to the point where I could say that I had no major complaints when it came to taking photos. Like right here, you can see my outside daytime photos, and I would say that these were really good pictures that turned out really well. The skies were very vibrant yet color accurate. The trees and other aspects of nature were very sharp. My face looked pretty color accurate, especially compared to last year's version where it would be kind of yellow at times, and the overall vibrancy of the outside pictures were great to no surprise. And now when we look at the inside daytime photos, I would say that these were also really great. Like right here, you can see that there was no graininess no matter how dark it got, and my selfies were top notch when compared to other smartphones. Next up, when we look at the outside nighttime photos, I would say that this is where the 13 Pro Max performed at its best. Like right here, you can see that the nighttime photos didn't give off any graininess, the colors were accurate, and my skin tone wasn't really yellow, which made me want to take more selfies. And now the last environment that I wanted to cover when it came to pictures on the 13 Pro Max was the inside nighttime photos. And when we look at them, we can see that there was some graininess, the quality wasn't as great, and it still struggled when there was little to no lighting. But in all honesty, this camera did much better than any other phone. And once I turned the lights on, the quality did get much better, the sharpness was still great, and the colors were very accurate, which definitely redeemed the camera overall. And when it came to video quality, the 13 Pro Max had one of the best to offer, and to give you guys an example, here's some 4K videos that I took on it. And there it is, you guys. My review of the iPhone 13 Pro Max after 6 months of use. Now let me know down below, do you think that the iPhone 13 Pro Max is the best iPhone that you can get in 2022? Let me know. And if you guys made it to the end of this video, I would like to say thank you for sticking around. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe, it'll be very appreciated. And as far as social media, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.